Welcome to this introduction video to my subscription-based model on the performance formula, where I am making mental performance coaching accessible, affordable, and available. During this video, it is my intention to tell you a little bit more about me, if you do not know me yet, to show you why mental performance coaching is actually important, to touch a little bit on what is the mental game, and lastly, how I am actually making mental performance coaching accessible, affordable, and available to any cricketer out there. So here's a little bit about me. I'm not necessarily going to go into the details of all of this, but you can have a quick look through there. I have certainly had the privilege of working with some of the world's best cricketers from a young age all the way up to international level. And I have coached through cricket and the mental game through all levels and all ages. And so I am really honored and excited by the prospect of working with you or your organization. All right, so why mental performance coaching? So my sense is that we all intuitively know that it's important. I mean, how often have you heard this child or this cricketer, or even you watching this video, you're so talented, yet they have a mental problem or a mental block or a mental issue. And if only they can solve that, then wow, their game will be incredible. And so really, if we think of why the mental game, there's a couple of other things that I just want to point out to you. So the first is that the game has got these four components. There's the technical side, the tactical side, the physical side, and the mental side. And if you think of a week, whether it's in your organization or you personally watching this video, how much time do you spend on your technical game, your tactical game, your physical game, and your mental game? And my sense is that for technical, tactical, and physical, the volume of that tends to be fairly high. But the mental game is the one area where it is not conscious, it is not pursued with vigor and energy, yet, but rather left up to chance most of the time. And if we find ourselves in a good space, great. And if we're not, then we search out help. But I want to make you aware that the inner game is actually the thing that drives your outer game. So your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your meanings, your expectations, your memories, those sort of things that live on the inside of us and in the inside of every single human being, they are actually the things that have the biggest influence over your performance. And so if you arrive at a game feeling on the inside in some way that doesn't support you to perform at your best, then in all likelihood, you won't. I mean, just think of your cover drive. When it goes wrong, what do you do? And what do you do when it works? You don't stop hitting your cover drive just because you've been hitting a couple of good ones. And you don't necessarily freak out completely when it doesn't. But when it doesn't work, what you'll tend to do is go to one side, maybe go in a net, slow the process down, unpack it a little bit, review your video, get some underarm throws, work on a couple of technical things, and then you'll build it back into the game so that it can work again. And once it works, you won't stop practicing it. You won't stop paying attention to it. You'll still keep hitting cover drives. And so for me, it's the same with a mental game. That when your performance does not match your potential, it is a mental thing, you know. It's showing up that I have this potential or this ability, but then it reaches a lower point. I fucked that up. I mean, just think of your cover drive. When it goes wrong, what do? You'll tend to break it down, slow it down, get some underarms, practice it in isolation until it works, and then you'll build it back into your game. But when it works, you won't stop hitting it. And so for me, the mental game is really the same, that we've got to find ways of breaking it down, slowing it down, taking the time out to have conversations, rich, deep conversations, to learn new things, a deeper understanding of ourselves and our game, so that ultimately we can build those things back into our game. And when they're in our game, to not really ignore the mental side, but to have a way and a strategy to keep ourselves topped up and keep plugging away, for lack of a better word, at our mental game to keep it sharp, just like we do with our cover drive. And I'll talk a little bit more on that in a moment. And the last point that I want to just mention on this slide is that when your performance does not match your potential, so if you have an inkling or a sense of your ability or the people in your organization's ability and they're not performing to that potential, then really the challenge is, and the area of growth lies within the mental space. Last thought I just want to share on why I think the mental game is important, or why the mental game, is that there's two types of cricketers. And this alludes to a little bit to some of the things I've already said. The first is the ones who come and see me when things go wrong. In other words, when their cover drive falls apart, then they go and find the technical coach. So I tend to get approached quite a lot by cricketers with, I have this problem and I'm struggling, help me. And that's great. It's great that people seek out that help in that moment. But then there are the ones who understand that it is something they develop just like their cover drive. So it's something, like I've mentioned before, that you consistently chipping away at, and you're involved in a process where the focus is the mental game, like taking your cover drive into isolation, and you have those conversations and those experiences where you are chipping away at your mental game, refining it, making it sharper, making it better, to ultimately get closer and closer to that peak performance that you know you have inside of you. So what is the mental game then? Well, there's different levels. The first level is the level of tactical awareness. Now, this is very important. It's being able to think about the game on the field, and it's affected by the second point. And then my sense is that cricket coaches can really do this side. So often I ask cricketers who works on your mental game, and they'll say my cricket coach. And my sense is it's because the cricket coach helps with the thinking of the game, the tactical awareness, the strategizing, the planning. And so, yes, that's definitely mental game because it happens on the inside of us. Nobody can see what you're thinking in terms of your strategy on the field. However, like I said, number 2 affects number 1, yeah. So your mental skills, it's the next level. Your ability to relax and manage your stress, to visualize, do the inner work, to have good decision making, being present in the moment. And so working with managing your thoughts and your emotional state so that it supports your performance has a huge impact on your tactical awareness. And then lastly, and this is really the domain that fascinates me the most and that excites me the most, is the domain of personal development. This is the place where we work with the drivers of your performance that live deep inside of you, away from your conscious awareness. And when we make changes here, it lasts. And I don't want the word change to scare you, because we're actually changing all the time. You know, if you think of the hair on your head, your skin, the environment around you, people, we grow older. And so it's actually a natural part of being alive is that we change. So when I refer to change, yeah, it's about the good side of it. It's about taking charge of how we grow and how we develop, and into what we grow and develop as human beings. So how are we going to do this? And so I developed the performance formula because as I worked with cricketers over the last 10 plus years, I noticed that there are similar mental game challenges that they all face. And so I took these similar things and I developed it into an online course so that cricketers can have access to this information, because these similar conversations that repeated all the time, wouldn't it just be great if cricketers can just have access to that information that I'm sharing one-on-one with players, and they could now do the work by themselves and then have support and backup through the process of developing that side of themselves. But just the information is not enough. Integration of the knowledge is essential, and I'll say a little bit more on that in a moment. And so with all of this, that's when the performance formula was born. Right, so here is the performance formula. It consists of what I call the 5 minds of performance. So we have the mission mind, where we clarify the path you're on and support that with an action plan. And it includes developing a personal philosophy that drives your values and your behaviors, and to have that and own that for yourself so that you know who you are. To have a champion mind, which is in particular about owning your mind, being more confident, and being able to take criticism like a pro so that you can grow and develop into the best cricketer that you can be. The inner mind, discover how you create results from the inside out. So everything that happens in the outside world comes from the inside. It's a seed that grows in your mind. And when we can take charge of how that seed is planted and grown, then we can start creating more of the results we want on the outside. I mean, performance for the present mind is all about being in the now, because that's the only time performance happens. Performance doesn't happen in the past. It doesn't happen in the future. It only happens in this moment that we're busy experiencing right now. And so the better we can get at being present, being in the moment, and engaging with that, the better we will be at performance at the end of the day. And then lastly is the process mind. It's taking all of these other four minds and building them into routines and processes for your performance to happen at the end of the day. So here's the performance formula. It's a website called performanceformula.net. It's an online course in part with other options. For the purpose of this video, I'm only talking about the actual online course. And so on the left-hand side of the screen here, you will notice sort of a little menu, and what you also get as part of the course is a workbook that has 13 activities on the inside. And so typically what that would look like, so I've opened up the Perform tab here, and you'll see like the last two activities in the workbook is linked to the content specifically to the Perform section. Like I said before, all of these topics inside of the performance formula are conversations that I've had, and I know that every single bit of information in there is relevant for cricketers. Right. Then the subscription part. So you, as part of the access on the subscription, you get complete access to the performance formula course. And essentially, the subscription is 2 times a month meetings with me. So you'll be part of a group, could be a new group, one that's not listed on the screen here. And so if you miss a session, you can watch it again because you'll have access to them through that little button over there. And there's complete confidentiality within the subscription program, that you will only have access to the group that you are a part of. If you click on any of the other links, you will not be able to access them, and we don't have to worry that people find out information about us that they're not part of. Okay, cool. So how am I making this accessible and available? So there's the online coaching course, the Performance Formula, which has the 5 minds of performance, the mission mind, champion mind, inner, present, and process minds. There's a total of 7 hours of video on all those topics that I've built in there. There's the workbook with 13 activities, and you'll get access to all future updates. So currently I'm planning to add some audio experiences into the program in the next month or so. And then there's the twice a month Zoom mental performance coaching calls that you will receive as part of the subscription. Right, making it affordable, because my sense is and my understanding is that mental performance coaching tends to not be these things. They're not accessible, they're not available, and they're not affordable. So you can get access to the Performance Formula course plus those 7 hours of video and the 13 activities, 1 coaching-based meeting and 1 Q&A meeting per month. So those are the 2 meetings. Replays of all the meetings should you miss them. Email or WhatsApp support throughout the month. And all of that at the low price of $29 per month. Now, don't let the dollars scare you. Unfortunately, it's only like that because my system that I use is only in dollars. So if you don't work in dollars, I'm based in South Africa, so it's around 430 Rand at the time I'm making this video, but you can most probably estimate between 400 and 450 Rand that it would cost per month to have access to all of these things above. Have your own mental coach, your own support, access to leading mental performance coaching information, all at that ridiculously low price in my mind. Okay, for teams, get in touch and we can talk about the process to get your team onto the system. I am very open to discussing group-based or team-based discounts, so feel free to do that. To get in touch with me, you can contact me through any of these channels. Maybe just from a cell phone point of view, add a +27 there in front of the 0 if you're from an international audience. Feel free to check me out on social media or follow my podcast. Cool. I hope you found this video informative. If you've got any questions, get in touch with me and we can chat about how you can get your mental performance coaching going.